Hey there, Wolfpack fans. Isaiah Miranda is in the portal, which means another top none and done for Keatts. Does this spell trouble for the pack?
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? Thank you again for giving us another listen. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you listen to your podcast, and of course, here on YouTube as well. Kenton, 20 days ago, Isaiah Miranda told us Wolfpack Nation or no nation. Today, on May 9th, Isaiah Miranda is a man of no nation. Isaiah Miranda has announced that he is entering the transfer portal. Initial thoughts. We'll get into it. We'll get into it more, but initial thoughts. Go.
You know, it reminds me a lot of it makes me think of the Idris Elba film, Beast of No Nation, because that's the first thing I thought about. I said, wow, Wolfpack Nation and No Nation, what a drastic change in such a short time. But I'm honestly looking at this and I'm saying to myself, man, this is just a really good microcosm of what college basketball is today, what college sports in general are today, because as the players become more aware of the business side of things, players are going to be more likely to move than they were before. But even beyond that, I would love for everybody to relax. And we're going to get into the impact of this and all that good stuff later, but just relax. That's my main takeaway from this.
So, of course, summarizing this back up a little bit, Isaiah Miranda was the commitment we had kind of in the middle of the season this past year. He's a top 50 recruit. We are very excited to add him to the front court, to be thrown into the mix with Dusan Mahorcic, Ibi Duona, and never got him on the court. And, of course, there's a lot of speculation as to why Miranda was never in the rotation at any point. Keatts was telling us it was conditioning, which I do subscribe to that. I think there is an element of truth to that for sure, because that is a large jump, as we've talked about before, coming from high school to jumping immediately into ACC basketball play. That's difficult for anyone. But to now have another none and done under Kevin Keatts, of course, this being the third one. The other two were Josh Hall and Jalen LeCue, a situation that we have already mentioned on here before. It has now come to fruition. So here's my take on this. I saw a lot of people upset, understandably so to a certain degree, because, I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that, yeah, I absolutely wanted to see Isaiah Miranda in a Wolfpack uniform. I think there's a lot to be excited about him. But is this the end of the world? I don't know. I don't think so, because this morning when this news broke, I kind of had like is there 5 stages or 6 stages of grief?
I believe it's 5.
I went through all 5 in about a minute and a half. So when it broke, I was instantly like, you have got to be kidding me. And then I think it's bargaining after that. If you don't know the 5, look them up. What I'm trying to say is I quickly did a 180 on how I perceived this news, I guess you could say. And coming on the other side of this, I'm not so sure it's a bad thing. In fact, it almost might be a mutual benefit down the road. We've talked about, pursuing a point guard from the portal because we're unsure about what that's going to look like for this year. Well, if you look at the silver lining here, now we have a scholarship to offer out. We're going to touch a little bit more on the possibilities that we've also heard about that a little bit later. But Isaiah Miranda, yes, there was some excitement there. The elephant in the room is never got him on the floor, and that is rightfully frustrating. But I don't know. I'm not so sure this is the end of the world as some people are making it seem to be.
For people who are making it the end of the world, I want you to listen to a song for me. It's and it'll help you with those 5 stages of grief. It was 5, you're correct. There is I believe it's denial, anger, bargaining, and this acceptance is the last one. Denial is denial, anger, bargaining, and I can't remember what the last 2 are.
Yeah,
But
I
anyway,
went through about all 5 in probably a minute and a half.
Skeeter Davis said, why does my heart go on beating? Why do these eyes of mine cry? Don't they know it's the end of the world? It ended when you said goodbye. Why am I saying that? Skeeter Davis was acknowledging in that song, I'm being a little dramatic right now. I'm being a little extra. The world will proceed to go on despite whatever small thing is happening here. And let's break it down to just NC State terms. This team will go on. This team will go on. It is not as if I could understand if Isaiah Miranda was averaging 20, 10, and 8 last year, and we're looking at him leaving. That would warrant all of the stuff that I'm seeing be taught. All of this, Keatts isn't the winner, and I'm here for championships, and Keatts isn't that guy. Listen, what have we seen? And sure, the rankings matter. I've talked about this before. The folks who follow these players around and give them rankings and all that, they get paid to do so a full-time salary because they take this thing seriously. However, it's in basketball more than any other sport. Number one, there's the most room for error. Number two, at the end of the day, there are misses. This thing is more art than science. I'm not ready to dub Isaiah Miranda as a miss and say, he's going to be a bad player or anything like that. But all I'm saying is, what did you all see, Wolfpack Nation, to have you this broken up? And don't get me wrong, I can understand a little bit of like, this sucks. Oh, man, again. But I can't understand denigrating Coach Keatts behind this. A man who came in when the program was under the shroud of, hey, you're going to have all of these penalties up against you for some stuff that he had nothing to do with. And now, instead of giving him appreciation for having one of the best bounce backs and turnarounds in program history, instead we're sitting here upset about a player leaving when we had one of the best portal classes in the country. Come on. What are we doing?
I think it's very important to not lose sight of what Keatts has accomplished this offseason. I think it's very easy to, throw your arms up and say, here we go again. We're losing people left and right, and this is another none and done. Don't forget that we have 5 guys, new players out of this portal that we should all be very excited about. They bring a lot to the table, and now potentially, as we're going to talk about here shortly, a 6th could be on the way. So, yes, it is frustrating, but yeah, like you said, Kenton, this is the new reality of college sports. This is now how it works. It's going to be a revolving door. So this is just something we're all going to continue to have to come to terms with as this continues to play out in years to come. But hey, I mean, easy come, easy go, I suppose. So it kind of is what it is. I have some more thoughts I want to share in just a second, but first, a quick ad read from Built. If you're looking for a delicious snack, but you don't want all the sugar and calories, you need the best tasting protein bar ever, and that's Built. If you're like me and you want to make healthier snack choices, but you don't want to compromise on taste, I've got just the thing for you. Built Bars and Built Puffs are healthy and taste amazing. They taste so amazing that you won't even think that they're good for you. But what makes them so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. And they still do this while maintaining amazing macros. Just 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. So head to your local Walmart or Sam's Club and pick up either a 4-bar box or a 13-bar box of Built. Built Bar. Thank me later. All right, so the next thing I want to point at here in the Isaiah Miranda storyline, I guess you could say, I saw this tweet as we're displaying here from Kevin Sweeney. He is a writer with Sports Illustrated. He had a good thread, as he explained here, that he said, for those tweeting about Isaiah Miranda being a major difference-making entry, it's worth noting that Kevin Keatts saw him in practice for 3 months. He entered the team in December July, February, March, never played, and then went into the portal to sign 2 bigs almost immediately, including Mohamed Diarra, which is a player that's similar in both size and skill set. So that to me, kind of viewing this out of different lenses here, I do think it kind of illustrates that Keatts was maybe anticipating this being an option. And of course, you have to do that with this new reality of the revolving door and the NBA draft process. You have to be ready for things like this to fall, because you don't have time to sit on your hands and avoid, or I guess miss out on new guys that can help your program when this sort of thing happens. And so how important now do you think it is to get guys like Ben Middlebrooks and Mohamed Diarra and plus MJ Rice, who can play some at the 4, which I think that door just opened a little bit wider for him this coming season. How important we spoke just a few minutes ago about the great portal offseason that we've had. I think we're still fine here. Like, perhaps that if Miranda was still here, it'd almost be too crowded with all the talent that we have. So, I look at this tweet and I see Mohamed Diarra, and I think we're going to be okay. I'm still fine with the depth that we have here this coming season in the front court.
I'm sorry to say this, and I'm sorry to bring these young men up again, but I got to do it. For all the people who are so disgruntled, who are so ready to break their keyboard, who are so ready to do whatever behind Keatts having another none and done, can I ask y'all a question? Because we've talked about this on this show before, so you should have a vivid memory of this. Which one of the none and dones is going on to do great things that we're looking at like, oh my God, how did we miss here? Which one? Please. For those of you, including Robert Dillingham, don't worry. We'll have 4 pretty soon. We'll have 4 to see, oh, what's going on? What's happening? Are we missing out on great players? And this is not to say that there is nothing to be upset about there, because objectively speaking, you have just sunk a lot of cost in terms of when you're recruiting that player, you could have been recruiting somebody else. And Lord knows what else you could have been doing with the resources that you poured into getting that player. Sure, I understand that. But the reality is, in order to hit a home run, you got to have a couple strikes. That's going to happen. It's part of the game. But you keep picking up the bat. You keep going up the bat. You keep swinging for the fences. That's what you do. That's what you do. I'm sorry to tell you, this is one of those things where the reason that I get so passionate about the offseason is because oftentimes fans like to think in wins and losses when it comes to the offseason, when objectively there is no scoreboard to this thing. There is no scoreboard to it. How can you objectively look at this and say, we lost the offseason because we lost Isaiah Miranda? How can you look at this and say Keatts has done a bad job despite you're mad that we lost the top 50 and a 4-star? We just got a 5-star. We literally just got a 5-star. So I'm sorry to get so worked up here, but I don't get it. I don't understand it. Yes, we are losing Isaiah Miranda, who had the potential to be an impact player. Absolutely. But when we look at what we have, and also if we go back to last year, I don't care how bad a shape you were in. When I believe it was a time when Ebenezer Dewana was hurt and DJ Burns was in bad foul trouble, and we still didn't put him on the court. That was the moment at which I realized, like, oh, there's something afoot here. There's something worse than what they're telling us going on here. Because worst case scenario, you put him out there for 5 minutes just to say, hey, give DJ a breather. He picks up bad, lazy fouls when he gets tired. Give him a breather, and we'll bring him back in at 5. That's all we need you to do, okay? When he didn't go in then, I knew right away, oh, there's something here. There's something going on here. So, again, if we are looking at another Josh Hall or Jalen LeCue, we looked at where they were at the other day. I don't think either one of them are the type of players that we look at and say, it hurt our program or we lost or we didn't do something right here. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. Sometimes it just ain't going to work out. You just ain't going to set horses with everybody, and that's okay.
I believe that game you were referencing, I think it was the NCAA tournament game against Creighton, because I remember tweeting after DJ got into that bad foul trouble. I was like, Is Isaiah Miranda busy today? Has he got any plans? Is he free? Because, that felt like a game where if you're not using him now, then very clearly you're not going to use him at all. But
Yeah.
I kind of want to make a bigger
It was earlier in the
point
season
here.
than that. It was a little earlier in the season than that. There
There were several other instances as well. Yes,
it was towards the end of the regular season, and I can't remember why Ebenezer was hurt, but I just remember it was like I was sitting there like, wait, why are we not putting us? Oh, he's not going to play this season. He's just not going to play and accept that. But I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead though.
No, you're good. But I kind of want to make a bigger point too about I think there's some fans that are kind of they're making Keatts like a cheap shot target in that they're immediately going after him, saying it's like it's his fault that these players are choosing to go elsewhere. My thing is like he's bringing in 5-star guys. Is that not what you want? Like it's not on Keatts that they assess their situation and decided that it was best for them to go elsewhere. What you want Keatts to be doing, I mean, yes, you do want him to get them onto the floor, and I understand that, but he's getting big name guys to commit to NC State. Of course, Miranda got here, didn't get him on the floor, but what more could you want other than getting them on the floor? He's getting the talent to be connected to NC State. We're still looking for that next piece, which, hopefully we're going to have that shortly in guys like MJ Rice and Trey Parker and Dennis Parker. They're on the way. But I think it's very unfair to, pin this on Keatts like this is his fault. I don't see that at all. I understand that he's going to become the easy target. It's like, well, that's the third guy. He didn't get to suit up. And okay, but I just don't think that's a good viewpoint of the situation here. I mean, I do think it's also kind of strange that Miranda has elected to join the transfer portal, considering it closes at midnight 2 days from now on Thursday. That I believe that would, kind of point that he's probably going to stay in the NBA draft process, because unless I don't know, maybe he's got something up his sleeve that he's going to commit to somewhere tomorrow, but it feels like very late in the cycle here to decide that you're going to hit the portal, considering it closes, 48 hours from now, so.
In the words of Maximus and Gladiator, are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? What more does Keatts need to do? What more can he do in an off season? Mind you, not a single three-pointer has been shot. Not a single shot has been blocked. Not a single ball has been rebounded, stole, assisted, whatever the case may be. And we are jumping down this man's throat for a player transferring out? What are we doing? What are we doing here? And I want to say that this is the loud minority, but I feel like this is a more of a Wolfpack Nation in general thing than I'd like it to be. It is not the majority of Wolfpack Nation, but it's a sizable enough chunk that they need to be addressed. What are we doing here? You're going after Coach Keatts, going after the reporters saying, oh, Corey Smith doesn't know what he's talking about and all that. What more as a reporter can you get than a player's former coach saying he's going to be there, he's going to do all these great things, yada, yada, and the player saying, hey, Wolfpack Nation or no nation. Shout out to Inside Pack Sports. You know what I mean? Shout out to Tuffy Talk. Shout out to the Red and White Pod. Shout out to all of the folks who are doing this thing on the media side. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we know historically NC State has been very underrepresented in the media for many reasons. So shout out to all the folks doing it. Shout out to all the people who are digging into this information. But I just don't, I really, fans, we need to have a come to Jesus moment about how we're acting about this situation. Because what more reliable source can you get than from the horse's mouth?
Yeah, I think that if anything, that is bad optics on, I guess, Isaiah himself and the camp that he's in. Because yes, that interview that we read about was from his former AAU coach that sat down with Corey Smith and discussed, he's ultimately looking to stay here. He's going through the process, but he wants everybody to know that there's something special coming on the way next season. And then for Isaiah to come over the top of that and use the line, Wolfpack Nation or no nation, that's the bad optics of this part. It's not Corey Smith. I think Corey Smith was just doing his job. Yeah. You can't fault him there.
It's not Coach Keatts because again,
And it's not Coach Keatts either. Yeah.
What else do I want out of a coach than to have his players saying, "I'm here, I'm committed, I'm locked in." If a coach having that feeling out of his players, if you want more than that out of the offseason, and by all means, y'all know us. Ask me questions. Leave your comments. I want to know, what more could you want from your coach in the offseason than to have his players fully bought in, or at least proclaiming that to the world? What more could you want?
Well, it's funny you mentioned what more we might want. We're going to touch on this in just a second, but we might have a sixth portal edition on the way this kind of broke shortly after we got this Isaiah Miranda news. So that is, I don't know, you could call it suspicious, but we're going to talk about this in just a second after a quick word from our sponsors. Okay, so rounding this thing out, this is a perfect tweet to kind of segue us in. This is coming from Joe Giglio. He says, the Isaiah Miranda portal news is a win-win for both sides. Miranda gets a chance at significant minutes at his new stop, and State gets his scholarship slot open. Now, why is this significant? Kenton, we've talked about, what is our point guard situation going to look like this coming year? Is it going to be a Breon Pass? Is it going to be an LJ Thomas? We were in the mix for a Jaden Bradley, but ultimately were outbid, probably literally, by Arizona. So we kind of got left in a stagnant position. Shortly after this Isaiah Miranda news broke, all of a sudden I'm hearing us linked to a guard from the West Coast. And then you zoom in a little further, it's sounding like it's going to be, let me bring up his name, Michael O'Connell from Stanford is the guy that we are now being linked to. He was a junior this past year at Stanford. The thing that jumps off the page to me with O'Connell here is the abundance of experience. His freshman year, he played in 25 games. Sophomore year, 31 games. And this past year as a junior, he played 33 games. That's a lot of experience in the Pac-12 as a primary guard because he's averaging 26, and 25 minutes a night. So he's a main fixture of what Stanford is trying to do offensively. Is he, explosive as a guard? No. But I think that is why he'd be beneficial for us because he's more of a facilitator. He's more of a playmaker than a scorer. And I think that is more so what we're looking for in a potential get for a point guard position. So, Kenton, what are your thoughts? Should we pursue O'Connell or maybe someone else as the waning hours of this transfer portal kind of go on here with it closing on Thursday?
Between O'Connell and who is the gentleman from Marshall? I believe it's Andrew Taylor.
Andrew Taylor was another name that was mentioned.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about. Taylor's numbers are a lot more impressive, but I have not watched film on either one of these guys to say like who is the better player. What I've seen.
I think they're different skill sets.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this. There has been allegations about some things in Taylor's past that aren't necessarily glowing and whatnot. But I will say this. I'm very interested in seeing what Keatts does here. Like, regardless of who he picks up or what he decides to do with this guard situation, I'm excited to see it. Again, I trust the guy. Am I saying that Keatts is the greatest coach that NC State has ever had and that he is infallible? No. Am I saying, but what I am saying is he's earned enough trust from me to say, you know what? I think that you'll figure this thing out in the right way. I think you'll do so. Because
I think sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. You go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's important to kind of separate, X's and O Keatts and recruiter Keatts, because
absolutely
recruiter Keatts, as we've discussed here, he's elite. He gets it done. He went in the portal and he knocked out 5 guys in a week and a half. And absolutely. Now as the portal's kind of nearing the end here, he's potentially going to pull off another one. So I tweeted earlier today, I think he just went back in the kitchen and laced them back up. So we're going to have to see. But yeah, as far as, getting someone here that, that fills a need for this team, I do trust Keatts in that way. Absolutely. I trust that he's going to figure out a way to fill, the need that we have at the point guard position one way or another. So we're going to see how this shakes out, but this is kind of it's mayhem here right before the buzzer sounds, I guess, midnight on Thursday.
Yeah, and it's again, Wolfpack fans, this is the new reality of the world. This is it. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. We see upwards of 40% turnover in these Power 5 teams and all that. Guess what we are, friends? We're in the Power 5. We're going to be a part of that turnover. We're going to see a lot of guys come and go and decide that they don't want to be here and all that. Wish them well and going about their way. And also, let me say this one last thing about Isaiah Miranda. I do not have any hard feelings toward the young man. Wolfpack Nation, you all should not either. That is a, 18, 19-year-old doing what he believes is in his best interest. And if his best interest leads him away from the pack, you don't have to be one of those people that say, oh, well, once a Wolfpacker, always a Wolfpack. You don't have to be one of those people. I'm fine if you're not. I'm personally not one of those folks that's like, oh, well, if you play for us for a single snap, you're a Wolfpack guy. Huh. BS. I gave 3 attendance for this program. I know what it means to be committed to this program. With that being said, if you are denigrating, talking down about, just disrespecting this young man on a personal level over his decision, take a look in the mirror and ask yourself what you're doing. He made a decision that we think is best, that he thinks is best for him. Like we've already talked about on this show plenty of times. We've seen other guys make the decision that they think is best for themselves, that objectively, that looks like if Dr. Strange ran all the simulations, that's one of the bad ones. You got one of the bad simulations by leaving NC State. And that's fine. That's fine to observe that and point that out. But to disrespect this young man and call him everything but a child of God, look in the mirror and ask yourself, why am I doing this?
I think there's a lot of examples of, times where Jay-Z would have said something best. I think this is another one in that it's on to the next one. It's on to the next one. The breakneck speed of the portal, you look at Miranda deciding to leave, you just have to accept it and be like, well, okay, here we go. We're going to keep this thing moving. And that's just kind of what it is here. So I think that's going to do it here on Wednesday. We're probably going to have much more to talk about surrounding this, because we do have the end of the portal window approaching us on Thursday. So keep your eyes peeled. You're going to get a whole lot more content out of us, I would imagine, this week. And we're going to see how this thing shakes out. But for Kenton Gibbs and myself, thank you again always for tuning in, and let us know what you think in the comments as well. I love seeing the comments on our page. I want to see different perspectives of how you think this whole Isaiah Miranda portal situation is going to pan out. So let us know what you think. But as always, thank you for giving us a listen. And as always, go Pack.
Go Pack.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.